Ranking Member Schmitt for his opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for working so diligently and with me on these important issues. Thank you to our witnesses for joining us here today. While we may not agree on everything that's discussed here today, your agencies have been and will continue to be invaluable to our space efforts. As I've stated before, Missouri has blazed a trail in our nation's path of exploration. St. Charles, Missouri marked the beginning of Lewis and Clark's expedition to explore our nation's expansion to the west. And Marshfield, Missouri produced Edwin Hubble, who fathered our nation's exploration of distant galaxies. Today, Missouri is home to over 54 companies who supply our nation's civil and commercial space missions. Space has been a unifying force for our nation, dating back to the space race with Russia in the 1950s and the 1960s. Then our nation rallied to meet the challenge of beating Russia to the moon, culminating in Neil Armstrong's famous words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Today, America is engaged in a new 21st century space race, one in which we compete with China. Once again, we face the challenge of landing on the lunar surface before China has the chance to plant its flag on the moon, claiming it is their domain. Fortunately, America has the pieces in place from an industry perspective to win this important challenge. However, regulatory ambiguity and uncertainty are standing in the way from truly unleashing our nation's commercial aerospace industry capabilities. In the intensifying space race with China, retaining U.S. leadership is imperative, not just for economic and security interests, but to ensure all nations follow appropriate rules and norms in space. As we contemplate new frameworks for space regulation, our policies must balance enabling the deployment of new technologies for commercial operations while ensuring safety, while sustaining our role as the preeminent leader in space. Currently, there are 4 key agencies who exercise authority or jurisdiction over space: the FCC, the Department of Transportation's Federal Aviation Administration Office of Commercial Space Transportation, AST, I was just going to give acronyms, NASA, and NMFS. It plays a small role, but for whatever reason, it is in our nation's space endeavors. At today's hearing, we're examining the role of some of these agencies responsible for whether or not their roles need to be refocused or changed to meet the demands of our nation's rapidly evolving commercial space industry. I've already helped lead those efforts along with Senator Sinema and others here in the Senate, and Senator Hickenlooper, who's here, with the Launch Communications Act, which streamlines the FCC's commercial launch and reentry spectrum licensing process to provide a more certain and timely licensing process to keep pace with the launch and reentry demands at the commercial space industry. That bill has passed the Senate and look forward to working with the House to get it signed into law. Recently, in an attempt to address current regulatory uncertainty and confusion as relates to our federal policies for new and novel in-space activity known as mission authorization, the Biden administration released a proposal that would divide responsibilities between the Departments of Transportation and Commerce. Despite being met with opposition, the White House in a statement said the proposal ensures that our government will build a regulatory environment that supports commercial expansion to benefit all Americans. I will make mention that the National Space Council, which authored the administration's proposal, was invited to today's hearing and is noticeably absent. It's disappointing they're not here to answer simple questions. Madam Chair, it is important that our industry has regulatory clarity and certainty as we focus our efforts here in this committee on a commercial space bill. As we embark on this new frontier of space exploration, the stakes are profound. We must make the hard decisions, which may include creating new authorities for some agencies and reforming or eliminating authorities for others. Just as our nation did as Sputnik and Soviets cast a dark shadow upon the Earth in 1957, we must meet this moment. I stand ready to work with you and to bring forward balanced, light touch policies that empower, not hinder, American ingenuity and innovation and get the government out of the way. I'm eager to hear from our witnesses today to assist this committee in shaping the policies that retains America's primacy in space. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Schmitt. Now I'll introduce our witnesses